Hey, wow, it's been a second. Hello. Welcome to the pilot's manual, Lancers. It's me, Six. In a second. So, today we are going to be talking about the Nelson. The Nelson is a machine of perpetual motion, running rampant on the front lines, back lines, mid lines. If there is an enemy, the Nelson will reach them. If there is a danger, the Nelson is kick flipping into it. If there is a fucking discount at the bodega that ends in 15 minutes, but it's a 30-minute drive, then Nelson is going to break every traffic law to get that half all soda. The Nelson is classified as a striker, with a lot of similar stats to the Blackbeard, except for a few notable areas. Its HP is 8 and its armor is 0, making it far less tanky than our other IPSN striker friend. In exchange, the Nelson has an evasion of 11 and an E-defense of 7, making it far more slippery than the Blackbeard. Additionally, it also has a heat cap of 6, making it a little less punished for getting hacked, while also having a higher E-defense, though it's not very high at all. It has a speedy start at 5, coming with a flexible selection of weapon mounts for a flex mount and a main aux mount. For traits, the Nelson only has 2. Very simple. One is momentum. After the Nelson boosts once per round, your attack will deal 1d6 bonus damage on hit. Pretty simple to understand, but there's some clarifications to make. With rules as written, you do not need to boost in the same round. You prime the momentum damage bonus. So if you boosted in the round before, but didn't throw out an attack, your next attack on your next turn will have the momentum damage instead. I'm not entirely sure if this is the intended way to rock it, but can lead to some interesting technical plays that you should keep in the back of your mind, such as boosting like at the end of your turn to prime bonus damage for the beginning of your next turn. That sort of thing. 2. Skirmisher. After attacking, the Nelson can scoot itself one space in any direction of its choice as long as it isn't slowed or immobilized. This movement ignores engagement and reactions. Skirmisher, combined with other movement-based abilities like Lockbreaker, which is from the Skirmisher talent tree, named the same thing, because fuck us, yeah, and makes the Nelson incredibly slippery little fuck. Being able to poke people at a distance with their longer range melee options, and then blitz away before the enemy can take a swing back. With these two traits in tandem, you can boost for movement, poke, and slip away with whatever you have left over, while still dealing damage on par with what other strikers who might be swinging with more weapons than you. Because, usually the downside to only skirmishing is that you deal a total less damage than, like, the barrage a Blackbeard might be engaging with in the front lines and just standing there because they don't give a fuck. You care a bit more, and you're going to be a lot more slippery. You're going to go bop, bow, in and out. For their active core power, the Nelson has the perpetual momentum drive. Engage! This score is incredibly simple, a single line. Skirmisher is now 4 spaces instead of 1. I can't emphasize how big of a difference this could make on you. The raw amount of distance the Nelson can cover already. Like, combined with Lockbreaker, you are moving 6 spaces after a skirmish, which is more than the Nelson's starting speed. This base kit is incredibly strong in tandem with one another, creating a perfect blitz skirmisher. Simple. Genuinely, one of the easiest mechs to pick up and play in the game. If you're just starting Lancer, the Blackbeard, if you really want to engage with grapple mechanics, is pretty easy for newcomers, but I think the Nelson is, like, the most straightforward for anybody coming from any other game. Like, even if you don't have any experience in these types of games, I recommend the Nelson for ease of use and teaching you some fundamentals of positioning. Alright, moving on to the license, the Nelson has some incredibly simple systems with only one notable exception. Honestly, oh yeah, I already said this before. I'm skipping myself ahead in the script. First things first, let's talk about the War Pike. A fun feature about this weapon, I don't think we've really talked about too much, is thrown. Thrown weapons are what they say on the tin. They can be thrown within the range defined by their thrown value. So the pike, which is thrown 5, can be thrown from within range 5. This weapon uses all the cover rules of a ranged weapon when thrown like this. So, hit or miss with a thrown weapon, it lands in a space adjacent to your target, and it must be picked up again as a free action while in a space adjacent to where it landed, before it can be used again. This can be mitigated with Knife Juggler from the Hunter talent group. This can make throwing a huge commitment, and not usually one you want to make as a Nelson, since getting in range for a standard melee attack isn't that hard with Skirmisher, Lockbreaker, Lunge, there's lots of ways to get in and out. But having thrown is nice. It's definitely a commitment, and you need to make talent investments if you want it to be effective and also not something that interferes with your game plan. The knockback 1 on the weapon can be nice for forcing yourself out of your target's threat to be slippery, or to have even more distance effectively created between you and them. This can also be used to route an enemy into a bad position, but since all knockback is optional, this is a really flexible tag to have. The damage is super standard, only a d6 without reliable to boot, so with momentum this could be 2d6, so with other systems you can opt this up to 3d6. If you take overpowered caliber from the GMS core bonuses, you have 4d6. Yeah, on a skirmish, 4d6 on a skirmish. It's great, yeah. And the real beautiful part of this weapon is its threat. Threat 3 is about as big as any weapon with threat is going to get without modifications. I know the threat on this thing can reach 8 with certain combos. It can get crazy. But 3 threat gives you the ability to outrange most other unmodified melee NPCs and match the CQB NPCs. It's great. And combined with Skirmisher and the knockback I said before, you can really just put yourself out of out of most characters' ranges immediately after kicking their shit in, or forcing them to have the boost to chase you down. Which means if you didn't kill them, you can immediately bail back behind your tankier frontliners or into an inconvenient position. Combined with some of the other systems that we're going to talk about, you could be a real nuisance. Beautiful weapon. The poker to end all pokers. A popular license level 1 dip for touch and go melee builds that want a really strong and easy to pick up melee to add to their arsenal. IPSN has some of the best license level 1 dip melee weapons in the fucking game, I believe. Like, I can't think of anybody else who just so consistently I see it fucking everywhere. Of course, within the context of like one shots and West March games, it's a bit different, but like overall, very popular. So, also at license level 1, you will receive Bulwark mods, which I began to talk about them a bit above, I believe. For the kiting potential of the Nelson. So, again, super straightforward. Difficult terrain, forget about it. For 1 SP, just ignore difficult terrain. Just ignore it. Just fuck it. Fuck it. With this system, you can run away into difficult terrain and make yourself very difficult to chase after. You can also just run it down mid. Not give a shit. Difficult terrain, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Combine this with mag clamps, you can ignore climbing penalties to movement that other mechs from, Swallowtail, or no, that's definitely the Death's Head licenses, but combine this with something from the Death's Head, which we'll talk about, I don't know, like 5 years from now. You can just fuck it, you're balling. You just run them down and run away with a mobility that can't be matched by any NPC in the game except maybe the ones that can teleport up to range 50, One downside, if you can call it one, is that it's unique, so you can't spam it on your build. And if you have to destroy your only copy of it, that's it until you repair it. That's it. That's all there's to say about Bulwark mods. That's everything. It's beautiful. License level 1. So easy. So few words needed. Truly the beautiful frame like Nelson. Like, we're not even in like... This is like page 3. It's great. I love this. Moving on to license level 2, we start with the frame itself, as we've already talked about. Our first weapon mod of the series, and one system that is going to need some clarifications. So starting with Thermal Charge. The Thermal Charge is a weapon mod. Weapon mods are unique systems that can be equipped to weapons to change their properties and adjust their functionality. The Thermal Charge is a weapon mod that can be applied to melee weapons of all weight classes, so from auxiliary to main to heavy to super heavy, and it only costs 2 SP, and it is unique. On hit, as a free action, you may expend one of its limited charges, starting at 3. And deal a bonus 1d6 explosive damage. Solid. Just a little, just op-cal, just op-cal. That's all it is. It's just limited op-cal. With rules as written, you can technically expend as many charges as you want for bonus damage because it's a free action, and you can take as many free actions as you like, but no one I know, including me, runs it like this. I run this as a once per round free action. Um, and frankly, practically, in an actual game setting, you probably want to play it like it's once per round anyways, because overkill can be problematic for a striker. If you are dealing far too much damage, you might you don't want to expend all your resources on one character at once, especially in a game like Lancer, which is all about resource management in a long-term sense over the course of multiple fights. Very important to know. Keep track. So solid system used on basically every melee striker build with 2 SP to spare that isn't using a different weapon mod like Molten Wreath or Supermassive, which are also IPSN. License level, armor lock plating. Armor lock plating. For 1 SP, you get a variety of effects. This system has a really good place in the Nelson game plan, but it takes a bit of explaining to really make it clear why and how you should be using this. At least it did for me. So this allows you to brace while grappling, because while you're grappling, you can't take reactions, so you can't brace. It's kind of like a soft, shredded, in that sense, if you want to think about it like that. So why is it important for a Nelson? Basically, the fastest way to shut down your gameplay as a Nelson in any context is to just grapple you. It slows you, prevents reactions, and since you're only size 1, you will be likely investing in agility over hull, you're incredibly vulnerable to grappling, especially from characters who are just straight up larger than you. The Lurker is an NPC that's particularly dangerous for this reason, because they can grapple you at range 3 using their whip, and range 3 is about where you're going to be sitting to hit people with your spear, so keep that in mind. But bracing while grappling with armor lock plating ends any grappling that's affecting you. That's useful for handling one of your biggest counters immediately. This comes with a few additional bonuses that happen right after you brace and end at the end of your next turn, I believe. Attacks against you gain +1 difficulty, combined with the fact you have soft cover from bracing just normally. This means ranged attacks come at +2 difficulty, and all melee still come at +1 difficulty regardless. You can't fail agility or hull checks or contests. This means even if anybody wanted to try to knock you prone, move you, or pull any bullshit on you that might falter your future movement, they're going to have to wait. Finally, you are immune to knockback, grappling, and being knocked prone by anything considered less than size 5, which all that is to say is that when you brace, you are not being fucking touched until the end of your next turn. It's a bit redundant, but those redundancies just expand its use cases in which the effects are useful as a get-out-of-jail-free card. Of course, the biggest problem is that people can still just hit you. You know, you will take following damage, but you won't be grappled, which means you might lose a structure, but you are going to lose way more by just standing there being grappled. Combined with Skirmisher 3, you should be more than covered on getting the fuck out of dodge. With only an SP cost of 1, armor lock plating can easily be slotted into your build with a minimum SP overhead, and should always be slotted in unless you want to be a very, very cocky player. Because if you don't have it, you're at the mercy of the grappler. Lurkers will fucking devour you, as I mentioned before, and I have been there, and it is not fun, so take your armor lock plating. The only big downside for a Nelson is the heat cost associated with its use. But honestly, you should be fine most of the time, unless you're playing your reactor like a piano and nuke calving. Underrated melee system, in my opinion. Really felt its absence when I skirted using it, because it is a little wordy, and I was being overconfident with my evasion score. Alright, license level 3. Look at us, breathe through. Isn't this nice? Right. So, starting off, license level 3, we have Power Knuckles, which is what is going to be filling out your aux mounts on the Nelson. The Power Knuckles are what they say on the tin, dealing 1d3 plus 1 explosive damage and coming in with a threat of 1. If you take the Hunter talent, you can give these puppies Throne as well, and for some, give these puppies Throne as well for some knuckle gaming. That's pretty fun, but that's putting the cart before the horse. These weapons have pretty good damage, consistent damage, and an okay on crit effect. On crit, you force a hull save, and on failure, you knock your target prone. That's, fine. It's just fine. It's okay. I've never seen this weapon knock anyone prone before, but you kind of stick with the knucks as just a consistent aux melee. If you do get that crit effect, then nice! They're aux weapons. They can be spammed. That's what's nice. That's why on crit is like good on Oxes. You just fucking throw a million of them out there. Its position on the LL scheme is a little strange to me, just because it doesn't really have the flair of most licensed level 3 weapons, but you can't really scoff at it, so it does its job, which is to bring some sweet chin music to the Dunfuck who got too close. I mean, if you're going all in on a target and not playing the range game, this is a nice little piece of extra damage to your target that just might knock them flat on their ass, which gives you an additional accuracy on following attacks, which is more damage. Now, final piece of the license level 3 is the Ram Jet, the real ride it like you stole it kind of system. It's a bit pricey at 3 SP, giving you the activate the Ram Jet protocol. When you activate this protocol, you take 2 heat. Until the end of your turn, you can only move your full speed in straight lines. You can stop if you would collide with something, and you can break up that line with different types of movement, such as a standard move into a boost. Additionally, your boost movement gains plus 2 spaces of movement. Your melee attacks gain 2 knockback as well, which add that to the touch and go routing you can do to make yourself a problem. It's the exact same thing we were saying before, just more. This system is a great opening gambit of blitzing directly down the middle, smashing yourself into an enemy of your choice, and then adjusting yourself with skirmisher movement afterwards. Combined with your perpetual momentum drive, you can really get silly with your rollouts and how you kite your enemy.
You wanted to go next, Six?
Yeah, so first things first. Protocol.
Oh boy.
Time to roll out.
Time to schmoo.
So, move boost.
That much, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to just use Skirmisher, and this puts me within range 4. And that's enough for my Warpike.
Mm-hmm.
I have accuracy on this.
Okay. Look at that.
It's a crit.
Look at that. That's 4 kinetic damage to the witch.
And I'm going to pop a thermal charge.
Sure.
Oh.
Oh, you boosted, didn't you? So you get bonus damage, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So that's 11. So that's 15 bonus damage. Also, this has knockback 2,
Well,
I believe.
here's...
It takes an additional 3 AP when it gets bounced.
So here's what happens. The witch dies in a fire. It's dead instantly from all of that.
And then I'm going to attack with my auxiliary weapon. I move 4 from Skirmisher, and then I lunge 3, and lunging is flying. So, now I'm gonna punch this fucker.
And knockback 2.
And knockback 2. So you take 4 damage, then knockback 2 for 7 AP total.
Oh,
And Disdainful Blade.
Oh no. Well, first they go here. On the ramp.
And that's another 4.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I'm not knocking you back again.
That's fine, because they're dead.
Awesome! So, it's a bit pricey. So, if you're gonna put on your build, know you're gonna be using it. So, if you invest in it, it's actually giving you value. Otherwise, like, there's a lot of things you'd be doing with 3 SP, like, GMS systems, or later down the line, other striker systems. Like, for instance, if you wanted to invest in a more ram-happy Nelson, you'd want synthetic muscle netting. So if you're gonna have to, like, consider where your SP is going. And that's everything. That's all the LLs. Let's talk builds. Let me get this off the screen. So, I got 3 builds as always, and 2 enemies standing all the way over here. Don't mind all this. So, our generic build, our Nelson's Nelson build, being piloted by Darlene Devil, is called the fastest path is a straight line. 5 agility, 7 speed. Taking basically everything you can take on a Nelson. For our flex mount, we're double knucking. We have Warpike and Knuckles, Armor Lock, Bulwark, Ramjet, personalizations. This puts you up to like 12 HP, 16 evasion. You're in a pretty good spot. 6 heat still, so do be careful of hackers. So, interesting thing about this build, we are actually taking Hunter 3. I talked about Skirmisher a lot, but for Hunter 3, we're really going to get that bonus damage we want. That sort of like additional stuff that we wouldn't normally get. Because we're not taking overpowered caliber, actually. We're taking Gygas Frame, which gives you an accuracy on all hull checks and saves, which helps with not getting grappled, but additionally +1 threat with all melee weapons. That means my Warpike actually has a threat of 4, which is very dangerous. Not fun. So, with Hunter, we get Lunge. I fly up to 3 spaces directly towards the target character before the attack, when I make an attack with an auxiliary melee weapon. A bit similar to how Lockbreaker can work, but this is just if you really need to get in on an enemy character. You can move in 3 with Launch and then move out 3 with your Skirmisher 2 combined with Skirmisher Nelson. So, also Blade Master. Well, not Blade Master, Duelist, Partisan. Gain +1 accuracy on the first melee attack you make with a main melee weapon on your turn. Pretty easy to tell why. Warpike is what you're mostly going to be throwing out there. Also, because of Knife Juggler, all thrown weapons come back to you, so you could just throw them. You know, just fuck it, throw them. Integrate Chaff Launchers isn't that important, because usually they're pretty good at... Integrated Chaff Launchers are nice if you're trying to avoid getting shot by a shotgun, I suppose. Or getting hit by any other kind of... like an archer reaction, maybe? I don't really care much about integrated Chaff Launchers. I've never really seen them do much work. But it exists. Use it if you got it. Yeah. Alright. So. A turn for this guy. I say. Darlene is, of course, a beautiful lesbian woman. As are all the pilots so far in this series, because that's all I play. So, Darlene's got 7. Yeah. Or Blitz. Has 7 movement. So, standard move. And then boost would put them all the way up here. But I'm like... I, as a person right now, actually want to target the operator. The Berserker's like an issue, but the operator has a lot more potential DPS output. And if I run past the Berserker, it's likely that the Berserker is going to try and follow suit and punish me for that. So, target priority going after the operator, because I can also reach them this turn. So, Protocol activate Ramjet, take 2 heat. Maybe, yeah. So, 7, standard movement. A boost, I'd get engaged here, but I can just, do this. That's 9 movement. And that person's now within 7. I can... using Hunter... lunge. And throw my melee weapon. Oh, shiny dice. I don't know when I got those. So, that hits. And that procs Disdainful Blade. So you throw a second one. Also, the Power Knuckles attack deals an additional d6 damage. So that's 7 damage total. Lockbreaker movement. I could also just straight up be here now. I don't have to be, though. I could just use skirmisher movement to get here. Ooh. And finish off the skirmish with you. And I have an accuracy on it because of Blade Master, and that's another 2 damage. So 5, 6, 7, you know, like 9 damage on the operator who has 10 HP. And I'm gonna choose not to actually knock them back or anything like that. I want to keep them in this range, and really if I just wanted to make sure that they couldn't shoot anybody, I probably would actually want to end up right here with Skirmisher. So pretty simple. This person's down 1 HP and they can't move or shoot me. DM's probably going to choose to have the Berserker move in here like such, target me, and, you know, like chain axe and, you know, make an attempt, but like probably stampede something. I'm a god. You can't hit me. You know? So very straightforward. Kill. Gygus frame, if we were to like probably talk a bit more about like the actual use case of Gygus frame in this instance, I instead move all the way up here. I don't activate Ramjet probably, so I just move and boost, and I don't move my full speed because I don't need to, because my full speed would be 14 and I only need to be here. I instead lead with Warpike. Okay, I crit. I'm going to spend free action, activate my thermal charge. I roll 2d6 and keep the highest one because bonus damage also gains that crit effect. So that's 8 damage. And as part of the skirmish, I'm going to throw my power knuckles. And because I land an attack, I'm going to be using Disdainful Blade to throw another power knuckle. That's fucking another crit. They need to make a hull save. They make it. I'm almost fucking positive. Yeah, they need to be. So they have Stampede defense on. So all of this is reduced by armor and resistances. But here's the funny thing. Knockback 1, increase to knockback like 2. Put you here. Then I move like this. So the Berserker, if the Berserker wants to get to me, is going to have to either boost or use Avalanche Charge. They're probably going to use Avalanche Charge because that is like the optimal way to do it. They do this, and then they'd Avalanche Charge, and then they take 2 swings at me. Right? If they got knocked prone from that save, their Stampede defense would have most definitely been not active, I believe, with how Stampede defense works. But regardless, you could be extremely slippery, right? Also, because you're staying at range 4, aggression can't bother you. Don't matter. Oh, right, I boosted, so that would have been an additional 1d6. Oh, it was also on my crit attack, so sorry, I roll it twice. So 3, 8, 11, reduced to like 5, still half health, right? And then 4, 2, 1. Yeah, no, that would put them to half health, down to 6 HP. Not bad off of a skirmish. You know, if you had had a controller at a certain point before, impair them before you made this play, that would have just killed them, right? So there's that to consider as well. Usually you're not alone, and somebody is there to hack the Berserker and impair them. Very simple. Very simple. Boost in, bounce out. Keep it up, baby. Keep it up, baby. So, yeah. Let's talk about Striker Brain. Because we're talking about Strikers. Let's talk about Striker Brain. Striker Brain is very similar to the fastest path is a straight line, but Nuke Cav. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we abandoned Hunter 3 for Nuke Cav. Instead of using our auxiliary melee weapons as a source of extra damage, we're going to keep Lunge for the movement, and we're going to take Nuke Cav for Nuke Calf 2. Aggressive Heat Bleed's fine. Don't mind it. Nuke Calf, though. So, you still have Skirmisher 2. You still have Duelist 1. Here's how we use Nuke Calf on this. Projected Shield. I'm going to activate this, and I'm going to put it on the Operator, and I'm going to give myself 1 heat, and then Protocol, I'm going to activate Ramjet, and that's going to give me 3 heat. I am now in the Danger Zone. Easy as that. I'm in the Danger Zone, I now get bonus damage. I still have a speed of 7, because I still have 5 agility. I'm just going to do this. Fuck it. Directly in it. And then I am going to skirmish. I'm going to hit them with the War Pike. And it has accuracy. Shh, I hit these. Don't worry. Yeah, I hit these. So I do believe this build also has overpowered caliber. So I get a total of 3d6 bonus damage. 1 from momentum, 1 from overpowered caliber, 1 from thermal charge. Oh, sorry, 4d6. And then 1 from aggressive heat bleed. 46 damage off a skirmish. 14 damage, reduce to 7. Well, reduce to 13, then reduce to 7. Still a lot of damage. What else can we do? We can continue to hurt them. And box them out. Pretend that hit. No. Yeah, you do a lot of damage off of 1 hit alone. And then you can use your... You can knock them back some. You could apply knockback as like the first thing you do, so that aggression doesn't hit you, because you choose the order of operations in terms of those sorts of things. And then you can just keep progressing forward to be a real big problem for this guy over here. You're gonna get your shit kicked in, probably, because you're in front of them now. They're just going to decide to target you. That's what Striker Brain is putting yourself directly in the front line with 10 HP and 16 evasion and just kind of hoping you don't get hit. Does a lot of damage, though. Big boost damage. If there was any difficult terrain in the way of any of these characters, it wouldn't have been a problem, because all of them have Bulwark mods on right now. Let's talk about Dedicated Ram. Dedicated Ram has Titanomachy, which we might remember from the Blackbeard video. Titanomachy Mesh allows you to, as a free action, grapple or ram a second time after you successfully ram or grapple. So, Skirmisher 2, Duelist 2, gaining Blade Master, and Momentum with Juggernaut 2. You probably also could have gone for Juggernaut 3, maybe, or you could have skirted Duelist 2 for Hunter 1. Just some thinking out loud a little bit. So, Dedicated Ram. Actual hull investment. 2 hull and 3 agility. 1 speed slower than the others with a slightly lower evasion. Right? But more HP. So, double War Pike, thermal charge, Ramjet, bulwark mods, armor lock plating, and personalizations. Same as Straight Line. So, you just sort of... The plan, and you'd activate Ramjet, I should have said. You'd activate Ramjet, you get here. So, move, boost, and maybe an overcharge in here for this gimmick, but you're gonna skirmish, right? Because you're a skirmisher. You're gonna skirmish. A hit. Spend your doodads for 2d6 bonus damage. 8 damage. You get a Blade Master die. This allows you to handle some potential incoming damage, but also trip, which is pretty useful, but it's forcing a save. So really what you're probably going to be using it is parry and deflect, is my intention when I take it. And then skirmisher movement, and then I am going to overcharge, and then I am going to ram. Not that button. This button. I get an accuracy on it because momentum. Again, another fucking thing that's just named the same as a thing on the Nelson. Why have you done this? Tom, Miguel, help me. Help me. Help. A crit. Beautiful. And then, you know, I can just fling this bastard all the way over here, knock him prone. If there was a wall in between us, that would have been an additional 1d6 damage. If I had moved into a slightly different angle, like if there was like a wall here, I could have angled myself downwards to knock them into it. They would take an additional d6 damage. Or if they got knocked into the operator, that would have been an additional d6 damage. They would have been knocked prone, which means that they wouldn't have been able to reduce that damage. Oh, they need to make a hull save first, but regardless. D6 of damage. Juggernaut lets you slam people. Or what I could do is I hit that ram. Oh yeah, being rammed period knocks you prone. What am I saying? Why is Juggernaut like this? It's the person that they slam into. I'm sure, actually. I'm not going to even bother double checking. I could have rammed them, knocked them prone, and then grappled them at accuracy, which you don't really want to do, but you could ram them, knock them prone, and choose to Titanomachy, ram them again. And if you want to expand this to where that's even more funny and effective, there's a system called Siege Ram from the Tortuga, who is soon, I think like 2 more episodes after this, is Siege Ram with the Tortuga. I know the next one's a Rally, which is... Rally! Holy shit, okay. Can't wait to talk about the fucking Rally. But, regardless. You could just smack them again. For funsies. Like, for the lulz. Yeah, like, fuck you. Go to hell. Yeah. It's that easy. Nelson's got a pretty simple game plan. And I'm pretty fond of it for that. Like, there's nothing horribly complicated to be keeping track of with Nelson. Ramjet is pretty interesting. Dipping your toes into the complexities of Lancer. Armor lock plating can be a bit intimidating with how much it does and how much of it is just redundant. But no, yeah, movement. Everybody loves to move, right? I think that this frame is good. It's good. Nelson's like, I don't know, it almost feels like an iconic frame, just for how simplistic and effective it is as a striker. Blackbeard, really, really cool, really, really fun, but engages with grappling. Grappling is really hit or miss, so usually you don't actually want to grapple with it, which is what you want to be doing with it. Is grappling is a little bit, but doing some crazy Attack on Titan grappling hook shit. You know, there's nuances and complexities to the Blackbeard that makes it difficult to pick up immediately. Nelson, the simplest, most beautifully simple. And I recommend it for anybody who is still fresh in these kinds of games, who just want something that's really, really easy to work with. I remember when I ran a one-shot for my friend Connor, who, if you watch any of my other videos, you know, plays a Manticore right now. If you hunt down our first Lancer game together that I ran, a one-shot, they played a Nelson called The Rhythm Changes. And boy howdy, man. I really should just convince Connor to get back behind a Nelson, truly. Because, man, did some fucking work on it. I mean, I also think I forgot half the rules of the game during that, but, you know. Tomato. Yeah. This was a fun one. I've been very busy lately. Like, this is like 37 minutes in, like 37 minutes is all it really took to talk about the Nelson. That feels so strange because the other videos are like an hour or longer. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, Skirmisher 3 has Weave, which I mentioned, but I hadn't actually talked about what it does. It lets you ignore the first attack made against you as a reaction. It just automatically misses. Same as what the Hornet has. It's cool. Yeah. Type 3 projected shield detail. Ranged or melee attacks, but tech attacks, no. So if you wanted to tech attack somebody you hit with a projected shield, you're fine. I don't fucking know. It's like I'd almost be tempted to say that the Nelson wouldn't be so successful as this simplistic of a frame if it didn't have such a well-built game around it. To give it that texture that it needs. Huh. Yeah. S tier. I mean, yeah, ultimately it's HP and lack of armor. It's not going to be as evasive as some of the other really evasive frames, but like, it's good. It's good. It's good. I feel bad for not having something more complex to say about this frame. Yeah. Again, as always. Oh shit. Right. Patreon. The one patron. I'd like to thank Alex McKilly for, of course, being a ardent supporter of all the bullshit I do. And to check out my Patreon if you want to see these scripts ahead of time. I posted the Nelson one like maybe a week before I recorded this thing now, and probably another week before it goes up. We work a bit slow here. It's fine. Also, with Patreon, other than just helping me survive, you can download the maps I do for all of the OMDI stuff. It has all the ones from StarCraft to the Shattered Stories to OMDI Must Die. There's a big old map pack on Patreon that's free for, I think, anybody above $5. Yeah, it's been kind of tough. I've written about this on my Patreon. I really don't need to talk about it here, but I am very grateful for any support. I fostered what feels like a really interesting community to exist within. There's a lot of people who are doing their own homebrew stuff and work on through my Westmarch server at this point. It basically, like, I don't want to say it runs itself at this point, but like I don't have to like actively be the one who does all the games right now, and it feels good because I'm so busy. I'm getting a book published, like holy shit. But yeah, as always, feel free to ask questions so that we can learn, you know? Mags, when you edit this, love you.